The technology beat me again this morning. We finally got to it. Good morning. I'm still learning my way around the new structure of the Facebook thing since they switched the procedures for pages and profiles. I wanted to be up about 5 minutes ago to catch the sun coming through those little clouds there. It was just lovely. But I couldn't find the place to do the live. We see Australia here and Mexico and Alberta and Malaysia. So the whole world is here. This morning there was a guy on the Israel Trail. He's going to stay off camera, okay? But if you hear a second set of footsteps, that's him. His name is Ofek, which means horizon. It means horizon, Ofek. So we're looking at the horizon, but you're not looking at Ofek. Hey people, look at how brown this is getting with the heat. There's still some flowers around, but I had a strong feeling a little bit ago that there was a lot missing. You know, like the flower that blooms in a day and is gone in the evening. That's the experience here. And if God takes such care of those little flowers, imagine how much He will care for us. So I met Ofek some years ago with his family here at Magdala, which is just below the hill here. Just below, we're just on the foot of Mount Arbel, or a little bit up on Mount Arbel, not too high up. You can see the cliffs up here. We're closer to them than I have been in the last couple of months. I came over here, had a different plan, but this is where we are right now. That happens in life, right? We have different plans, but this is where we are right now. So there you have the hills, the mountains looking in on Lebanon. No sign of Mount Hermon, it's completely in haze. So we're doing the whole Ofek right now, the whole horizon. And you will not see Ofek. Okie doke. So let's go for a little walk and you can see how the sun is hitting all this foliage. There's still some flowers. I see these little blue ones here. Pretty neat. And these thistles are, their day is over. Actually here you have tons of them that are already gone to seed and they're ready to fly away. Well, they're not ripe yet. And these aren't either, so we have to get one that's open. I learned that. If they're closed like this, the seeds are still pretty fixed inside. But when they're open flat, that's when they're ready to fly. So we learn as we go. There you can see Ofek walking. No, they can just see your, like the picture we have in Dukenalton from the knees down. So Ofek just finished his military service and he's doing the Israel Trail from Dan, direction of Beersheba. So he said, I'll be in the area. So I said, if you're up that early, you can be on the sunrise stroll and chat. So there are still quite a few flowers, more now than I saw when I was coming up here. Maybe they were hit harder over there with the sun. We still have one of those real hazy days. Oh, I forgot to put in the link. I have to do that. I'm going to put in the link for the radio interview. I shared it with you guys on the WhatsApp group last night, but I have to insert it. I must remember to insert it in the post here, in case you want to hear something for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Father Michael had lots of questions in the interview about the experience here in the Holy Land these years. We didn't see any wild boar or deer this morning. Here we have the buckthorn. These are late bloomers, Ophic. They are, all the rest was flourishing 6 weeks ago, and you can see some branches here that are still not fully in bloom, they're just starting. And they're hideouts for the wild boar as well. Hey guys, Ophic told me coming up, see there are a lot of places here without foliage yet, much foliage, it's coming. They're late bloomers. Sometimes you have friends or people in life that are late bloomers, and we can all bloom till the end of life, you know, till our last breath. I'm not sure if I want to go up this way here. I'm going to backtrack a little bit here and try and hit the normal trail, which is not up here. When there's a lot of stone, we have to watch out for the snakes as well. But I imagine the snakes aren't out yet because the warmth of the sun hasn't hit. So the buckthorns were the ones in the Bible where they were looking for a king, and the fig tree didn't want to be the king. And the olive tree didn't want the king to be king because they wanted to produce their own fruit. And they were being called to do some social leadership, and they preferred to make their own business. And then the buckthorn said, well, let me do it, I'll be king. And then the people had to suffer the consequences of thorny leadership. Here, there's a lot of flowers here. These white ones, they came out late as well, late bloomers in terms of flowers. I think somebody called this lace, right? Anne's lace, St. Anne's lace or something. I remember last year you were teaching me about this. So here we are looking across to the Mount of Beatitudes. All those banana covers there. And right underneath that is the multiplication of the loaves we had. That's where we are right now in the Gospel. From there, John chapter 6, the multiplication of the loaves and the fish, over to Capernaum, where it says that Jesus said, at the end of the chapter is going to say, and Jesus taught these things in Capernaum. So that's the geographical setting of that story. And then we have the dock there of Gennesaret, of Nov Genosar, the kibbutz. And that's where all the boats just take. And I hope tomorrow morning to be there. It's not set yet. Somebody wants to meet over there, so maybe I'll do the sunrise stroll and chat in Nov Genosar tomorrow. God willing, for a different angle, you know, and combining the fact that somebody wants to meet over there, but they didn't confirm yet. They found 6 o'clock a little early in the morning, and I said they don't have to be in the sunrise stroll and chat. We can meet later. So I got a handy little path here, a cow path. Oh, fake, this is sunrise strolling chat, so therefore we have to always show a lot of the sunrise, you know. This is part of our DNA here in this live stream in the morning in Galilee. Look at all these thistles here. Now these guys are ready to seed the whole countryside with their thistle seed. No, they're not ready yet. They're not ready yet. I wasn't that successful. So today we have a very interesting story there in the Acts of the Apostles. It's kind of a regular feature for the disciples of Jesus since that time that there is practically always somewhere some Christians being persecuted. And it says a violent persecution broke out. And, you know, it's like the corona situation. Some good things come from bad situations. We actually came on the skeleton of an animal here, a cow. So some of the jackals had fun last night and the last few days probably. They could have their parties. I'm trying to figure out where to go here. Normally haven't been on this train for a while. So one of the results of that is that Philip, who's one of the deacons, not the Apostle Philip, heads off to Samaria. And he's most welcome. Now, he wasn't the first one to go there with the good news, because Jesus himself had that talk with the woman of Samaria in Sichem, present-day Nablus, Jacob's well. It's located in biblical Samaria and the West Bank. And there was tremendous blessing for the people. 100 years later, a pagan brought up in a Jewish cultural background, descended from Roman soldiers who received land there, a land grant after the destruction of Jerusalem. His name was Justin, and he was born around the year 100. So if Philip is going there, it's like 70 years before that. Oh, here we got one of these flowers again. Somebody told me the right name for this, so I'm not going to call it the wrong name again. One of you who said it before, you can write a little note now to tell people, because I forget the name, I don't have it in my brain. So everybody realizes. Look at the bees, they're really busy at work. I love that motto, to be a bee and not a fly, because the bee goes for the nectar and the fly goes for the garbage. And the bee does a lot of good with the nectar. Maybe the flies do too, but they're always hanging around the garbage. And the bees are upgrading reality by turning the nectar into honey, and they're also, this bee says, get out of my territory. So I'm backing off here. And they also cross-pollinate, so that's very good for nature. To be a bee and not a fly. A fly is going around checking out what's the latest bad news. And society and families are always built by focusing on the good and lifting it up. So Philip goes to Samaria, and he's very welcome. And then let's say that's in the 30s, so 70 years later or less, Justin is born, and he becomes one of the greatest philosophers, Stoic Platonic philosopher in the Roman Empire. And he even has encounters. One of his books was apparently written for 2 Roman emperors. And then he's martyred. He worked a lot among the educated pagans to explain about the gospel. And it's interesting, all his accounts as well. And he actually wrote a dialogue with Tryphon, who was a Jewish debater with him. And in that book there's a line saying, "I can show you the cave in Bethlehem where Jesus was born." So there are a lot of interesting things from Justin, but who knows if Philip's work bringing the gospel there had any effect on Justin directly, maybe. But we have to always sow good news. Always sow the good news. And the fruits will come over time. Because Justin had moved on from there. Apparently he became a Christian in present-day Turkey near Ephesus. And then he was very active in Rome. But it's interesting to see that history, that historical connection of that same place being visited by Jesus himself and now by Philip. And the reason Philip goes there, partly like the propelling reason, is to get out of Jerusalem, because it's not a comfortable place for Christians. So today a lot of Christians migrate also not only for persecution reasons but also for economic opportunity. And imagine then when we have to move in our lives to another place, which is part of our lifestyle as religious people, that we go as messengers, we go with the light, we go with good news. We have a great story to tell. Oh, there's a lot of flowers here now, so be consoled, there are still flowers, but these mustardy coloured ones are passing their heyday of blooming and entering their full swing of seeding. And there you have Magdala in full view. The terrain here is not so easy, it's a little difficult, but that makes it more fun. It's downhill, it's narrow, a lot of thorny bushes and thistles. So I'm not sure where you are, if you're where you were born, or if you had to move for economic opportunity, or for study opportunities, or your grandparents did, or your parents did. Those are hard times usually for people to have to move, but there's also adventure involved for a lot of people. And then imagine if there's the level of bringing good news with us, bringing hope, bringing encouragement, and to leave a legacy of that, not knowing how it's going to bloom. Maybe down the road, because a little seed was planted, a huge tree can grow. I think we'll have lots of surprises when we get to eternal life and see all the Lord accomplished through our little daily kindnesses, an act of forgiveness. Some people can't believe that you can forgive. And so you have this tussle in the family and you forgive, And now things are smoother, but somebody maybe was more deeply impacted than just the smoothness, that you were able to be humble. And some of us have a hard time with humility, you know. I'm so proud of my humility. Now we have a bit more of a path here. And these are nice and thorny, but if you have a good bit of stuff on your trousers, then you can just brush by. Don't stay too long, because the thorns have a way of making themselves felt. I hope you have the right shoes on this morning for this walk, people. The right boots. Hey, we have a whole little family of these guys here. So sometimes, you know, people might even rebel against an act of forgiveness, but maybe years later it'll come back to them and they'll say, wow, now it's time for me to forgive. And I had that example, and an example is more powerful than 1,000 words, you know. That's why we share the good news, the light of the gospel, more with lives than we do with words. So there's great encouragement again today from our readings. I think we're going to call it a day. And I thank you for joining us for this beautiful morning. Another beautiful day in Galilee. These guys all have gone to see it. I'm not sure if this is the Darnell. It's completely empty, you know. It didn't have much in it before it bust open. So it looks like wheat. It looks like a grain. But there's no nourishment there, at least for human beings. So I hope we're not flies, we're bees, and that we're not darnel, that we're wheat, by God's grace. People, thank you very much. Thanks for joining. And maybe we'll see you from Nufgenasar tomorrow, that you can still see here. That's the walkway out to get the boats. That's the plan. Let's see if it happens. Or at least that's a possibility rather than a plan yet. Okay? So I'll say goodbye to you now. All the best. See you later, alligators.